Hey boys and girls, this is going to be the drawing of the bulldog. The bulldog has his head tilted because he's shaking his head and getting water off. So I am going to tilt my paper so that I can draw straight up and down. And when I straighten it out, he will be tilted. So you'll tilt your paper and then you will draw in the middle of your paper a horizontal line. And at the end of your horizontal lines, you will do 2 small swirls. So that is the bulldog's nostril. The next thing is a horizontal line on the top. So bulldogs have shortened muzzles, so that is basically his muzzle. It will come down and come down like this. Has a little bit of a curve in it, but not too much. I'm going to draw a straight line between his nostrils and then connect to these 2 curves. So that is his muzzle, and there's his chin. As I create his head, I'm going to go all the way around. I'm going to have room for his eyes up here, and I will also have to have room for his ears over here. So as I make his head, I keep in mind that it's a little boxy. Boxers have kind of a boxy face. Bulldogs do too. So I made it kind of squarish. I'm going to do 2 wavy lines down to the top of his muzzle because I'm going to change a color right there. And then 2 eyes. The space I left up here is for his ear. So his ears are pointed and not too long. So if his ear is up in the air because he's shaking, it's going to have a little bit of a wave to it as it comes out from his head. And then this is the inside of his ear that you'll see. On this side of the dog, he'll have his ear is going to be coming down this way because he's kind of going like this. So it's the same wavy shape, and then we have to attach it to his head. So this is the only line I'm going to erase because that you can't see through his ear. The last thing I'm going to do is put my paper back straight or horizontal, and I'm going to connect his shoulders. So they will come down, straight down, because he's wagging or shaking his head. Hi boys and girls, I'm going to do a shaggy dog this time, and I'm going to have him tilt the other way because he's shaking his head and getting his fur all dried, getting all those droplets of water. So I'm tilting the paper, and I'm going to put his nose down about halfway or in a little bit lower. So his nose is a little bit different shaped. It is a soft edged triangle, meaning it does not have points on the ends. The edges are rounded. His nostrils are the letter C, forward and backward. And then his lip, dogs have a break between their lips, so he has a little short line under here. Because this dog has a longer muzzle, I'm going to draw a horizontal line up here. So that means his nose is much longer than the bulldog. And so I'm drawing this horizontal line, and then I want to connect it. I'm going to go down and connect it kind of with a backwards letter J. So down and connect, and down and connect. I'm trying to make this side of his nose look like this side of his nose. And he needs a little chin or a tongue, so I'm going to go ahead and I'll just use that for his chin for right now. All right, this dog is also going to have his eyes closed because he's shaking his head and he's trying to get water off him, so he's closing his eyes. Most dogs do that. The shape of his head will go from this side of his cheek all the way around to this side. Because he's fluffy, I'm using jagged or zigzag lines to show his fur is not smooth, okay? And then now for his ears. So this ear at the top of his head is actually going to also be jagged and not smooth, and it's going to go all the way over the top of his head like this. if you wanted to draw a little inside value to show that's the one you would see the inside. This ear is tilting down because he's flipping his head this way, so it's the same jagged organic shape as an ear. Just like before, I'm going to erase his headline right there because, you know, you can't see through his ear. All right. Now when I tilt his head this way, you can see that he looks like he's tilting his head. I'm going to make his shoulders jagged, and this one is going to be jagged too. And then I thought I'd show you something about a tongue. If you wanted your dog to have a tongue that's coming out of his mouth, you can erase a little bit of the chin and you put a tongue coming out of his mouth. And it kind of looks like a stocking almost, the end of a stocking. But that's his tongue as he's sticking out his tongue as he's trying to get all that water off of him. The last dog I have is a dog that has a long muzzle and smooth fur. So it's more like a dachshund, but any other dog would kind of fit in this category. So again, I'm going to have him tilt his head. So I'm tilting my paper so that I can draw upright. This dog is also going to have a soft edged triangle nose. And I'm going to do the same thing, doing the letter C forward and backward. Instead of drawing a line down, I'm going to have him have a different kind of mouth. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. He is going to have a tall muzzle, so that means he's going to have a short short horizontal line above his nose, and I go pretty far up. And this time, instead of making the split in his lip go straight down, I'm actually going to leave a space. So I'm going to come around with my backwards J, and then come around with my other J, and this time, this is going to be his tongue, and this is going to be his chin. Again, these puppies have their eyes closed as they are shaking their fur, and I'm going to make his head. His head is going to be going around his eyes and back down. Now this dog, it's a dachshund, and he actually has these cute little eyebrows that are different colored. Sometimes like the dog is black and he has these little upside down kind of like tiered raindrops, and that's like, if this is black, this little part of him is like a light brown. So those are his little eyebrows, and his ears are doing the same thing. They are an organic shape, so they are kind of looking like a leaf-ish triangle, and this is his ear on this side, and I am actually going to erase that part of his head right there. And then I'm going to do another one coming down. This one's going to get closer to his face. This is a long ear. And I'm going to erase that part of his head. Let me see that guy. I'm going to bring it down a little bit further. It looks like it's stuck to the top of his head. There. I think that's a better shape. I started closer to the eye this time. So now when I turn him, he's definitely turning his head. And I'll give him his shoulders. And there he is.